one of the interesting studies I saw you quote in your manual, which we'll talk about in a little bit, was a Chinese study that looked at testosterone levels were highest on day 7 after sex.
Yes.
Could you go into a little bit of detail of that and what that means for people about, I guess, how frequently they should be having sex?
Yeah, that's a good one. This is a cool question because I'll highlight some of the sort of like from a how a neuroscientist's brain works, right? And then this will be very insightful because I mean, my 10 years of grad school, like these are the main takeaways that I'm about to give you, and then you can think like a scientist too, right? Now, the way scientists work is we have to form hypotheses, we have to do the results and so on and have a problem and all that. But there has to be publication, right? Things have to get published for them to be actually seen by the public eye, right? But then there are some studies that are done with negative results which don't show the hypothesis that was hypothesized. And those studies tend to not be shown, right? It's how science works. It's like hilarious stuff, but it is very political and so on. There's an actual, I've developed this method to actually vet science articles, right? Man, there's so many out there. Like which ones which ones don't you trust, right? But this specific study, what they did was they looked at the testosterone levels, the total testosterone levels of men over I believe it was a 16 to 21, it was 16 to 21 days, just depending, some people dropped out, some people didn't. The 16 to 21 day period, let's say 3 weeks. And what they wanted to do was to see without any kind of masturbation, ejaculation, sex, what happens to testosterone levels. And what they found is that over the first few days, nothing really happening, and then it peaks at day 7, and then it kind of plateaus. And then afterwards, it kind of declines. But the main aspect was that peak on day 7. Now, the interesting thing about that study is, yes, it's peer reviewed. It's kind of a lot of people refer to it, but it hasn't been replicated. Right? That's what sucks. Right? So that's a big part of being a scientist. Whenever I look at a study, I say, okay, this is a huge implication. Crazy, really practical benefit for people. Why hasn't it been replicated? Now, I speculate, right? The reason it hasn't been replicated is because it's actually been replicated, but from a negative result. And so it wasn't published. Right? Now, that's okay. I mean, that's okay. It's something, we have and, we can take it with a grain of salt like any other study you should, right? What I tend to do is look at more meta-analysis, which look at 50 to 100 studies and then or reviews. There are amazing reviews out there like neuroscience reviews and other reviews. I tend to look at those more because they give you a summary of many studies and give you some conclusive evidence, right? So for the guys who are listening who are thinking, hey, what's going to happen to my testosterone? I personally, I wouldn't say I don't believe this study, but I wouldn't put all my chips in with this study, right? Because it has also been found that testosterone boosts during sex, right? It has also been found that testosterone is spiked just by looking at a female or by going to a, they call it a sex club, these studies that have you go to a sex club and you watch this erotic stimuli. Testosterone increases. There's a peak. There's like a 25% or depending on the person, there's 15 to 25% increase in testosterone just by looking at a naked woman, right? Alive, right? Right?
Makes sense,
right? And then if you're engaging in intercourse, then your testosterone is going to increase even more, right? But then you get people who are, they're watching porn all the time, and then you have. Again, we talked about the receptors being depleted and desensitized. So then now that's another issue. But for the takeaway is, do not by any means abstain from sex for 7 days so you'll have a boost in testosterone. Do not do that. You know why? Because why are we boosting our testosterone? Because we want to become more masculine, right? Because we want to have the benefits of what it is to be a man. And correct me if I'm wrong, but sex is one of them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I really like the sort of dual nature of how these hormones work, that sex increases testosterone, yet you also need testosterone to have the libido to want to have sex. So, it works in both ways.
Yeah.